76% of female intimate partner homicide victims were stalked by their killer. 76%. That is a huge amount.
Powerful. Few things are as powerful.
Hi guys, I'm tired when I'm recording this, so I apologize in advance for saying stupid things if it happens. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you so much. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is April Hardy. On this channel, we cover things related to domestic violence or intimate partner violence, particularly, as of lately, intimate partner homicide. Lately, we have been covering different people's stories of intimate partner homicide, doing tributes, and I've started to put red flag indicators in the videos talking about red flags that I've seen within relationships to try to teach people red flags, hopefully so that they can find them in their own lives if they're in situations like that, if you're in a situation like that. This week, however, we're going to do things just a little bit differently. I'm going to talk about something that is super tied with intimate partner homicide, and it is a topic near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about stalking. I'm going to share a couple of statistics with you before we get into it, just so that you understand why we're talking about this. 76% of female intimate partner homicide victims were stalked by their killer. 76%. That is a huge amount. I have another number for you. 89% of the women that were physically assaulted, like domestic violence in a physical assault type of way, had also been stalked within 12 months of their murder. So women that have been murdered by an intimate partner or an ex who were beaten up at any point in time during their relationship, 89% of those were stalked within a year before their murder by their murderer. 89%, 76%. Both of those numbers tell me that this is an extremely important topic for us to talk about. What is stalking? That is a good question. While stalking is legally a crime in all 50 states, in the District of Columbia and U.S. territories, and according to the federal government, which sounds really great, the reality is that the definition of stalking differs depending on what state you're in, and while it's illegal in all of those places, it's a misdemeanor charge in the majority of them on the first offense, which means that if you are a victim of stalking, like, they're going to get a slap on the wrist if you can prove that they're stalking you and they get charged with stalking in the first place. And then they're going to have to continue to stalk you, and you're going to have to be able to prove that in order for them to get a significant charge in most cases, unless there's a couple of different unlesses. Unless the victim is under the age of 16 or more than one stalking charge dealing with the same victim, then it'll bump it up from a misdemeanor to an actual charge. But otherwise, misdemeanor is a very small thing when you're being stalked, because it's a very scary situation. But anyway, because there is no one-size-fits-all definition of stalking, I really like victimconnect.org's definition of stalking. I'm pretty sure that that's the one that I used in my book because I think it's really good. And so stalking is a course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person fear. That is really vague, but it very much works, because then the thing is that stalking looks different depending on who's doing the stalking and how they're choosing to do it. It can look different. So that umbrella term, that vagueness for stalking specifically, is important, because then you're not going to have things thrown out of court because they don't qualify. If you're a reasonable, sane human being and these actions are causing you fear, then it probably counts, particularly if it's repetitive. One of the main things that makes stalking different from other crimes is that it's a pattern of behavior. If you go out and rob a bank one time, you're going to get in trouble for robbing that bank, for breaking that law that one time. If you go shoot somebody, you're going to get in trouble for doing that. If you burglarize somewhere, you're probably going to get in trouble for doing that if you get caught. But if you're stalking tends to be often a bunch of individual acts that by themselves wouldn't necessarily be criminal by themselves. But when you put them together in the context of stalking, that's when it becomes a thing. A situation where a person is trying to cause you fear. They're trying to control in some way, and or depending on the kind of stalking, they are trying to be close to you when you don't want them to be close to you anymore. Any of those things, they're like different factors that make it sort of a weird puzzle that goes together in different ways at different times, but all underneath that umbrella of things that would cause a reasonable person fear. A pattern of behavior, more than one. Doesn't have to be consistent, doesn't have to be the same thing every time, but multiple behaviors that when you put them together, scare you. I want to give you a few more statistics. 7.5 million people are stalked in the United States every year. That's a statistic from a few years ago, I believe. I am sure that it's higher. And I personally, and just my personal opinion, we'll see what happens, I personally think it's on the rise. I think that stalking in particular is a crime with technology and with the narcissism that is like crazy rampant in our American culture. I feel like stalking is on the rise a lot. And most of these situations that we're looking at are men stalking women, but women stalking is on the rise. Women stalking men, women stalking other women, both on the rise. As well as men being able to stalk women easier because technology makes that much easier to do. So at minimum, 7.5 million people a year. Most stalking victims are stalked by somebody that they know. You might have a predatory serial killer type of person who stalks their prey before they attack them, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's like, don't quote me on this is not a statistic, but like 1 or 2% out of the 100%. The majority of them are not mass murderer people. Most of them are people that you know that are either angry with you, they feel like you have jilted them or screwed them over in some form or fashion, or they want to be with you and you told them no, things like that. That's the majority of the stalkers, and that's what we're talking about primarily here. Intimate partner stalkers frequently approach their targets and their behaviors escalate quickly. Insomnia, anxiety, social dysfunction, and depression are all common among stalking victims. So I'm going to give you a few different possible behaviors that a stalker might be doing if they are stalking you or somebody that you know. Repeatedly calling your phone, including calling and hanging up. Some people do that. Some people do it and just sit on the phone and breathe and don't say anything. Some people will call repeatedly from blocked numbers or random numbers, but you know in your gut that this is probably that same person. Follows you and or shows up wherever you are. If you keep seeing them where you are, that's questionable, especially if where you are is not where they would normally be. If they don't normally like this particular type of activity, or you know that they don't like this particular activity, but they keep showing up when you're at this activity, you're probably the reason why. Sends unwanted gifts, letters, texts, or emails. Damages your home, your car, or other property. Monitors your phone calls or your computer use, possibly through spyware. Uses technology, hidden cameras, GPS, etc. to track you. Drives by or lingers near your home, your work, or your school. Threatens to hurt you, family members, or pets, or friends. Performs other actions to control, to track, or to frighten you, other things that weren't involved in this list. And uses other people to try to communicate with you, like children, family, or friends. Just a couple of personal experiences with these. Definitely have had the repeated phone calls and the hanging up. Definitely been followed. One time, one of them showed up at a church function for children. It was like a carnival. And this guy showed up with no children. And he gave off a weird impression. Intuition says a lot if you pay attention, and people's intuition was going off. They didn't even have any idea who this guy was, but their warning bells were ringing. And then I was there later, happened to catch wind of this person, asked them to describe them, and it was somebody who was stalking me. Damages your home, your car, or other property. One time I had a car that got broken into, ransacked. Somebody hocked a loogie in the back seat, and I had completely forgotten when I came across, found my car in this condition. And at first I thought somebody was just angry because they hocked a loogie in my back seat. I'm like, what the heck? And then later I went out on my front porch to check my mail, and the Christmas presents that had been in the trunk of my car that I forgot were in there. In the heat of freaking out about my car, were sitting on my front porch. And it was very, very much a message to me that this is how close I can get to you. They didn't take these brand new things other than to take them out of my car and put them on my front porch. But I got the message. Monitoring your phone calls or computer use, possibly through spyware. Definitely had that one happen too. And at first I thought I was going crazy because he kept calling me on stuff immediately after things were said through text. And I was like, does he have cameras in this house? I don't understand how he knows everything. Well, he had spyware on my phone, and I just didn't know that at the time. It was my first experience with that. I didn't even know it existed before that. I had no reason to know that it existed. So drives by or lingers by your home, school, or work. That I would add to that. I mean, I know that they've got school. I take that as school if you're in school. It also qualifies your kids' schools if you have kids. I have had them linger around my home. I've had them linger around my kids' school. I don't know that I've had them linger around work, but I've definitely used precautionary measures at work, including hiding my car and things like that. Threatens to hurt you, your family, or friends, or pets. That's definitely been a thing. Performs other actions to track, control, or frighten you. I guess in that I would put, I had one that would track me through people. He had people all over the place, and they knew me. They had been given my picture or something, because I did not know these people from Adam. But they knew who I was, and they would call and report to him where I was, who I was talking to, who I was around, for how long. And then when I came home, I would get that report, as well as his thoughts and feelings about it.